Yeah, I have a girlfriend now, and I think we're very much in love. And yeah, it's gotten to the point where I I'm with her, and I don't want the single life. And it got to a point where I wanted to stop dating, and um, yeah, and it was great. And uh, it wasn't like from a lack of trying, and it wasn't because I had a lack of options, really, like maybe I initially previously was used to, but it was because like I had gone on like at least a dozen dates within the span. Well, I shouldn't say that. I probably went on more, but I went out with about a dozen women in the span of like a couple of months. And I never thought that kind of highly focused and concentrated work was possible before I came to you guys. And because it was so intentional, because I kind of loaded it on, um, I got to understand what I wanted and what I didn't want, and pretty quickly. And this was after like not dating for at least 5 years. I have been happy to be part of this program. And it was, as far as the material goes, it was comprehensive. It was a blueprint from, step by step, A to Z, starting from optimizing your social profile to living a good lifestyle to the templates for every single conversation that possibly could happen. And then being able to kind of go at it and approach dating in both quality and volume. And it was like, yeah, I think it was exactly, what I needed to get started, and it was the right support system as well. I don't know. It's hard to say what else I could possibly need from it. Um, but yeah, it's a jumping point. It's like it reminds me of like, yeah, it's like a boost in like Mario Kart or something like that. The most valuable part of the program, Dave, would probably be essentially the standard operating procedures, right? I think the manual that, when it comes to conversation, when it comes to mindset, and I think particularly important for me was where you should be in the relationship and where your head should be at and what you should be looking for at certain stages in the relationship, starting from the first date, second date, third date, and on. Like the essentially the time frame in which you should, she should meet your friends, you should meet your parents, and um, the details around where your head should be at and what you should be looking for in that person during that period of time. And having that system evaluated in context with the coaching calls, was invaluable. And frankly, I didn't need him that often, but when it was really nice just to have them there, um, because there were some situations that were nuanced, and I needed more specific answers for, or sometimes because in the thick of emotions, whether you become dejected for some reason because things aren't going smoothly, or when you're flying high, in these moments where you feel like you may be losing objectivity, these calls can help reel you back in and set you on the right path. So, my dating life prior to the program was about 5 years of no dating, and then previous to that, it was just pretty. I would say more like just immature and unspecific and not targeted to what I specifically wanted, what was good for me It was it was just, it was not intentional in any real way, and I didn't really measure my compatibility, and I never really measured, uh, whether or not that I was good for that person was good for me. I generally relied on solely dating apps and didn't have, the know-how to approach people and to be a man of value. And yeah, it wasn't until I signed on with you, Dave, that I felt like I had a direction and I felt a sense of intentionality with how I was dating, how I was presenting myself. And I, yeah, I actually, I couldn't be happier because it's, I'm now dating at a level which I think is appropriate for like a 35-year-old. Whereas what I was doing before, I probably should have been, um, I don't know. I think I might have been dating at a teenage level when I was dating and still in my 20s. The progress of what my dating life looked like after I started with you was a real roller coaster. I started, didn't really, I think I was just resistant to everything. And it was, it was uncomfortable. I'm like, why am I doing these poses in the middle of a park to take photos? But when I could get down to it and just trust the process and saying I'm going to dive in, that's when things really started to move. And simply from the process of taking pictures got me out of my apartment in a way that I haven't been before, and got me talking to people. People were wondering what we were doing. They were looking at me differently. I engaged in conversations, and it was just something that from the get go was pushing me out of my comfort zone in a way that I knew was productive. And the the part about dating like online was a little bit worrisome for me because I had Tinder when and dating apps when I was dating, but it wasn't to the level it was today. There's a higher threshold and a higher barrier of entry when it comes to dating apps now, because 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was swipe and I could get dates no matter what my profile looked like. And now the competition is fierce and people are expecting a little bit more. And I got to tell you, the success rate because of my photos, um, it attracted better women. It made me feel a little better about myself. It was a great conversation piece. And that when I started to actually do the DMs and started to have those pieces, I made a big mistake in the past to get too involved in the text messaging beforehand, and very often I would lose them. There was a lot of ghosting involved, but the the dates as a result of the template you sent me were responsive. They showed up, and they were pretty high quality dates. Even if I wasn't compatible with them, and if I didn't, initially like them, or if I didn't wind up becoming partners or going out with them for third, fourth dates, they were nice dates. They were comfortable, and I knew what to do on them, and it was just you know it was just not fumbling in the dark, which I think I felt like most of the time before working with you. I think with your help, I was never really complacent, and that I was always trying to push through and really get to the a deeper issue, and go to a deeper level and to find out, right, essentially if she's got the stuff. And now we're at a phase where, um, she's met my friends, she's met my family. I've I've talked to her mom, um, and yeah, things are going smoothly. But they're not without their conflict, right? And it's a pretty good ratio as far as like the pointless writing to like the very good, like productive kind of tension when it comes to examining our philosophies and where we want to be with each other in the future. The biggest impact that this is going to have on my dating life going forward is just the confidence to be able to reintroduce myself into the market if and when that ever happens and not be stumbling in the dark. And to understand that the principles that I use out there in the market are translatable to inside of the relationship. And it's something that merges together and should never really end. The dating process never really having to end. And so I think those, that's going to stick with me, right? The nerve, the courage to approach, right? It's the same courage that I use to approach difficult conversations, right? And the 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 charm and like the hunt is something that I find is never going to stop, right? Especially for a long-term relationship, right? That hunt, that pursuit is something that keeps the relationship uh, animated, which keeps it interesting and engaging. And yeah, I think those skills that Dave, you helped me refine are the same ones that I can use to actually make my relationship more productive and fulfilling as well. Yeah, if I try to quantify how much time I'm saving using um, this program, I don't know, like a decade, because I just wasn't having it before, and I just didn't know what to do before, and I think that would have continued. I actually did think at some point, oh man, like I'm doomed, and I wonder how long I would have had to continue to fail before, that really started to weigh on me. But here, it was the accelerated path, right? I was able to secure, like, on average, 2 dates a week for like a couple of months, and it was immersive as it was intentional, and it really, really flattened the learning curve for me, right? Just as far as conversations and um, how to approach the date, and step by step from date one, right? When the date starts, actually, no, before the date starts, who I have to be, how I have to dress, like what my style needs to be on the date, what to do on the date, what to do after the date and into the next date, up until date three, date four, I had that explicit procedure, which allowed for certain nuances to occur. But then you guys, Dave, you had the calls available for me where I could get those nuances and details explored. And so very quickly, within a couple of months, I met Sophia, who's a great long term prospect, and yeah, we're in love, and we talk as and in a way that I said this to her the other day. I've never felt loved by a woman more. She comes to me with a warmth, a combination of warmth, intelligence, and um, and the right combination of feminine and allure all at the same time, and it was just something that I didn't think I ever thought was possible for me or that I even deserved. Um, and yeah, it's hard for me just to downplay this as like just another girlfriend in my life. This is somebody who's been such a special presence and has gotten me out of, has helped me come out of a funk that was brewing for years. Um, because honestly, and now that I'm thinking about it, Jesus, if you know, I came to you, Dave, mourning my mother and having one of the most significant women in my life just kind of like just passed away. And I think that was another obstacle that I would have had to conquer, and to do that by myself now that I think about it would have been insanely difficult. Not only did I have you as a coach, as well as the other coaches on your team, Dave, but I also had the community of guys there to support me and just to see and the inspiration that I could derive from their successes and to see that I could do it too. And to see people who were ahead of me, but then to see people who were coming up and getting those initial wins. Um, the people of all walks of life, all races, to see, okay, they can do it too, right? They feel like these hard cases as well. And yeah, and to think that I could start from there to a loving, fulfilling relationship that I don't think I've ever experienced before is immeasurable.